In today's news, a COVID-19 testing regime to be implemented across schools in the BVI to allow for the safe resumption of face-to-face learning.
The Royal Virgin Islands Police Force searched for dogs and possible owners in recent attack on civilian.
And the Commission of Inquiry receives a further 3-month extension to deliver final report. New deadline date is April 2022.
And tickets and motor scooter seizures close out the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force year-end operations.
And also we see children ages 12 to 15 now eligible to receive Pfizer booster following the all clear by the US FDA. Well, we get to these and more stories when 284 News return.
You value traditions. You value music. You value education. Family.
I love you.
Service.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Love. Life. At Popular, we're committed to you and everything our community values. For the things you value the most, count on us. Popular.
Welcome everybody. It's Wednesday, January 5th, 2022. I'm Ron Grant. We're coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the beautiful British Virgin Islands.
And viewers, I'm Kamal Haynes and we start today's newscast on the subject of COVID-19. Well, a COVID-19 testing regime will soon be implemented across the schools within the British Virgin Islands as part of the Ministry of Education's overall plan to safely resume face-to-face learning during the pandemic. Well, Deputy Premier and Minister for Education, Dr. Natalia Whitley, made a disclosure during an interview with 284 News last night. Well, following the recent spike in COVID-19 cases in the BVI, the Education Ministry announced that all public schools will reopen for the ninth term, utilizing only online learning classes which commence on Thursday, January 6th. Well, Dr. Whitley said the testing regime, which is in its infancy stage, will assist the ministry with resuming physical classes in a COVID-free environment.
It is unfortunate that we have a steep increase in COVID cases. And to keep our teachers and students safe, we have made the decision to resume classes online. However, we are seeking to reopen for face-to-face shortly by introducing a testing regime to ensure the safety of administrators, teachers, staff, students, as well as the students' families at home. More details about the resumption of face-to-face classes will be forthcoming shortly.
While the Education Minister said the preferred choice of testing to be conducted at the schools will be the rapid antigen test, which will be assisted by the BVI Health Services Authority.
We will be using rapid tests to confirm whether students are positive or negative before having them return to classes. And we'll be assisted by the Health Services Authority, who will be providing us with self-testing kits.
Well, the minister added that while the testing regime is still in the planning stages, the immediate aim is to have all students tested for COVID before being allowed to re-enter the classrooms.
Presently, we're looking at testing all students. But the details are still being worked out. And I wouldn't want to give any more details about it until all of the details are firmly solidified.
Well, meanwhile, the Ministry of Education in a recently published bulletin said they are presently seeking information of families affected by this present COVID-19 spike. But the ministry said, and I quote, "Well, parents are encouraged to complete the survey released from the Ministry for Parents at https://bit.ly/medu 2022. Or for more information, please contact the principal or administration unit of your school, end quote. Around here, we see somewhat of a plan being put in place to safely resume the whole online learning, transition from the online learning, which was announced to commence from tomorrow, basically to put a system in place where now children can then safely re-enter classrooms, because we saw the impact of some children who find it very difficult to be able to study with these strict online measures in terms of, that online, everyone learns different. And we did carry some stories last year where we would have seen some students complaining they're not being able to adapt as well. And we did see the minister making some announcements of that nature as well, stating that there were additional measures put in place to assist those children who would have difficulties adjusting to the online platform. So here we see the minister basically stating that, to ensure that there's a COVID-free environment, what we will do is test all children basically. We don't know how it will roll out as yet. He said that there are plans, the plans are still in the infancy stage, but what he said to me is that, there will be liaison with all these necessary stakeholders to ensure that once the plan is completed, it's one that is well received by all.
Indeed, and even though it's in the infancy stages, I do think it's a step in the right direction, and we do wish the Honorable Minister and his ministry within the Ministry of Education the very best as they continue to really traverse through these difficult times. Viewers, we're continuing on over to Virgin Gorda. The Virgin Gorda police officers are asking for assistance from the community in identifying the dogs that attacked and injured a female resident near the Taddy Bay International Airport in Virgin Gorda on New Year's morning. A search by officers for the dogs or a possible owner proved futile after the attack that left the victim with several lacerations to her leg. She was treated at the Nurse Iris O'Neill Clinic and released. Now, by law, persons are required to register their dogs with the Department of Agriculture. Dogs that are not registered, even with the boundary of premises, are registered stray and can be impounded by the department. Any dog outside of the property boundaries, registered or not, must be on a leash and accompanied by its owner. Now, dog owners that are found in breach of this law can be prosecuted, and any dog posing a threat to the public may be terminated. Now, viewers, in its attempt really to reduce the number of this present cases, the Department of Agriculture is presently setting traps to capture stray dogs roaming the streets. These dogs are taken to the BVI Humane Society to be evaluated, cared for, and put up for adoption. Anyone seen tampering with or releasing animals captured in these traps can be prosecuted. Now, persons with information on the owner of the dogs involved in the attack near the Virgin Gorda Airport or know the present whereabouts of these said animals are really asked to contact the Virgin Gorda Police Station directly at 368-9552. Again, that number is 368-9552. Kamal, we covered a story yesterday in the newscast where director and owner of PA BVI was awarded and will be receiving the medal of from the British Empire as it pertains to her service in really caring for animal welfare. I think this story really encapsulates the struggle that persons like Ms. Ruinsky have in really trying to create a safe environment, not only for animals, but for civilians. This is not the first situation where an animal has attacked a civilian, and I think when we put this into a holistic a perspective, we really have to consider the ramifications that come with harboring and not taking care of animals in the best interest. Here we see where a person who essentially could have lost their life, that could have been the worst scenario. Thankfully, she has been treated and released and is recovering, but this is not always the case, and I think we need to put this in perspective and really holistically make an attempt like Ms. Ruinsky and her team at PA BVI to really safeguard the well-being of the animals as well as civilians. Indeed, and I do also think that there are situations where these persons do know they own these dogs and refuse to put them on the necessary leash as required by law. Yes. And as you said, it's fortunate that the lady, just suffered a few, I'm not sure of the extent, but, there were a few, cuts and bruises and bites, I assume, and we do, I'm glad that she's able to live to tell this story on that matter.
But going forward, I would like the persons, because there are certain areas that you would traverse in the territory where you would see dogs not on a leash.
Correct.
And sometimes you're a little scared.
Many neighborhoods.
You're a little scared to basically walk past or even ride past, because sometimes that triggers the animal.
Yes.
And something really needs to be done about that in the territory, and I'm sure that following that incident, more will be done. Well, viewers, up next, the COI receives a further 3 months extension to deliver final report. New deadline date is April 2022. And tickets and motor scooter seizures close the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force year-end operations. But these and more stories after a word from our sponsors.
The wait is over. CCT Fire is here. Experience ultra-fast downloads, seamless streaming, and even more reliable connectivity on an all-new fire-blazing super-fast CCT Fiber network. CCT Fire. Bring it home and upgrade today.
Well, welcome back, viewers. Well, the Commission of Inquiry has been granted a further extension of 3 months, which means the final report of its investigations must now be submitted by April this year. Well, Governor John Rankin made a disclosure in a statement issued on Tuesday, January 4th. Well, he said the extension was necessary since a large volume of documents received from the Inquiry Response Unit during the COI investigation stage was far too much to conclude proceedings and issue a report in the previously set timeline. Well, Governor Rankin stated, and I quote, both the volume of documents involved and the time taken for the redaction applications to be made and considered have had an impact on the Commissioner's ability to finalize his report and supporting documentation within the current time frame. Therefore, I have today informed the Honorable Premier that in discussion with the Commissioner Sir Gary Hickenbottom, I have granted a further 3 months extension to the COI to April 2022 to enable the Commissioner and his team to prepare and deliver his final report. Well, a new instrument confirming this extension will be issued, end quote. Well, Governor Rankin said the decision to further extend the timeline is the moral thing to do to ensure that each of the areas of concerns are properly investigated and addressed to provide sound solutions to the existing issues. Well, he said, and I quote, well, I believe it is right that this process is completed carefully and methodologically, and to ensure that a complete report is delivered into the areas of concern that the Commissioner is addressing. Good governance is paramount to the success of any country, and I remain committed to supporting the COI in helping to achieve this for the Virgin Islands, end quote. Well, the Commission of Inquiry was originally scheduled to report its findings to Governor Rankin by July 18, 2021. However, Commissioner Sir Gary Hickenbottom was clear that the time allocated was insufficient, and he requested an extension which was granted for an additional 6 months, which expired in January 2022. Well, a new 3-month extension now means that the COI will have until April 2022 to submit its findings to Governor Rankin. Well, Ron, here we see what we will see a second extension to occur.
Yes, indeed.
Since the establishment of the COI and the BVI. I know a lot of persons were anticipating that report, which was initially scheduled for January 19th. But, we have to wait a little while longer to ensure that, we get somewhat of a very comprehensive report that not only lists some of the areas found to be of great concern, but also provide solutions on the way forward for the BVI.
Well, Kamal, since the news broke, of course, many residents have been experiencing and expressing mixed emotions as it pertains to the extension. As you mentioned, this is not the first extension, but initially some claims have really said that the lack of information forthcoming from legislators have been an attribute to the extension. And I know we've tossed around the idea that government departments as well as legislators have not been able to be forthcoming with accurate information. But I do think holistically with hopes that a very honest and forthright response from the COI will come forward. I do think, however, the residents are a bit exhausted with the extension. But again, we do have to wait.
Indeed, and as the Premier and his government would have said, that they submitted thousands and thousands of pages of information to the COI, so therefore obviously it's only understandable that they require the necessary time to basically sift through all of those documents to ensure that no stone is left unturned.
All right, viewers, continuing on, planned operations over the weekend by the officers of the Road Policing Unit and the Armed Response Team resulted in the confiscation of 5 motor scooters with loud mufflers and 5 scooter-related tickets, 2 for riding without a crash helmet and loud from a muffler, and 2 for failing to stop at a traffic light, and 1, of course, for a passenger on scooter not wearing a crash helmet. Now, the 5 scooters are being detained until the owners can replace the present mufflers with the original, which has a built-in silencer. Now, 1 scooter rider was officially charged with reckless driving, driving without a driver's license, driving an unlicensed vehicle, driving an uninsured vehicle, and riding without a crash helmet after he and his rider fell while attempting to maneuver their way around the stationary police vehicle blockade. Now, police both drivers and the riders have sustained minor injuries but refuse medical attention. Another 3 persons were reported for the offense of driving without a driver's license, driving unlicensed vehicle. Out of the 3 persons, 1 was reported for riding without a crash helmet this year. And operations really follow a series of such operations in 2021 that target the motorists who violate the road traffic laws. Now, these planned operations by the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, they say, are intended to pursue owners of illegal bikes and those that cause a noise nuisance while minimizing the risk to riders and the public and its officers. Kamal, noise nuisance and illegal bikes have been a conversation in the territory, not only in 2021, but for some time. It is almost a very unnerving conversation. And I'll tell you why it's unnerving, because the legislators that we have elected don't seem to be able to have a handle on it. Neither do law enforcement. I understand that there are protocols in place, but when you look at the intense level of noise nuisance, there are many times, and this road traffic operation is just one example, but there are many times where these persons are traversing the roadways, and it would appear from a resident perspective that they are going about their duties unbothered. In this case, arrests were made, bikes were seized, but I'm not sure what we have to do as a country and as a law enforcement team and body to really put this situation under control. I think it's annoying. It's annoying for the residents. It's frustrating for most of them, and also for fellow road users who traverse the roads. I think it's something that we have to look at intensely and stick to the gun. If there's a law, put it in place.
I do agree with you to a great extent on the basis sometimes you would see motor scooter riders on the roadways and without helmet, for example, and you would see sometimes a police vehicle just pass next to it without at least turning on the siren or trying to apprehend the individual and give them a warning and try to basically enforce the law. But there are other situations where, on the other hand, you would see basically an officer doing what they can to ensure that the rider adheres to the law. But upon a conversation I would have had with the former head of the road policing unit last year, what he did tell me at the time is that there sometimes they're basically trying to put things in place where all officers enforce the law, not that one officer would do it and the next would not, and that has been a problem in the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force and in the BVI in a whole. And sometimes I guess that kind of transcends down to the rider, who therefore don't think that they necessarily have to wear a helmet because they see everyone else not doing it, therefore making it somewhat of a custom, something to do, whereas it's not in accordance with the law. But as I did speak to you on numerous times, the new Commissioner Collins, basically is putting new measures in place to ensure that he cut down all these problems that he would have came in and found. And it's going to take time, but we do see the progress. And as you said, there are numerous arrests that were made in 2022, numerous tickets issued, numerous persons warned, and hopefully this year the same will continue until persons get in their head that okay, well, it's not only a situation where I have to put on a helmet for the law, but I also have to put it on for my safety. And we do see the BVI basically recording numerous motorcycle fatalities on a regular basis, and sometimes it has to do with not having all the proper gear while riding, because life is extremely fragile, and a simple knock on the head could basically be the last breath on earth. And I'm sure that this is the main reason why the police officers have been, adamant and aggressive now with their approach of policing these persons to ensure that they abide by the law.
Kamal, I'm really happy that you brought up the issue of fatalities, because over the past years we have lost a number of young persons to scooter fatalities, and for some reason that does not have seemed to really bring home the point of safety. But like you said, we continue to wish our officers and pedestrian bike riders the very best. Please, it's law, abide by it. Viewers, up next, children ages 12 to 15 are now eligible to receive the Pfizer booster following the all clear by the US FDA, and the USVI. Active COVID-19 cases climbed to some 2,493. We have the details of this and so much more after a word from our sponsors. You're watching 284 News.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a brand new season of The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, a show poised to help guide modern-day men into 21st century distinguished gentlemen. It doesn't always involve suits and, bow ties, but raw, real-life lessons that translate to grounded, community-minded, well-rounded men. This season, I'm taking you on an entirely different journey, from chefs to dancers, philanthropists, communications specialists, and much more. I'm heading outside in the field to share the journey of some of the BVI's best and brightest men. From East End to West End, Bojangada, Jackson Lake, not forgetting Anigata. Our Virgin Islands gentlemen are doing the damn thing, and I'm so proud. Get ready to reason, reflect, and redirect. We are the movers and shakers of this generation, and we ain't afraid to show it. The Art of a Distinguished Gentleman, Season 3 by yours truly, Ron Grant, raising a generation of greatness.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Viewers, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Now we pan across to the waters of the U.S. Virgin Islands as COVID-19 active cases continue to surge in this wave of infection. VI health officials are reporting that there is a significant number of children under the age of 5 who are becoming infected with the virus and are requiring hospitalization. They said, and I quote, "We are seeing higher rates of COVID-19 among pediatric ages, including newborn, infant, and toddlers less than 5 years of age. This is the population that is unable to be vaccinated and are being exposed by their parents, most likely," said the U.S. Department of Health. Now, vaccination is recommended for people age 5 and up. They said the best protection for these babies is vaccination among parents and family members. This is a request coming directly from the pediatricians in our clinic. The nation is seeing record levels of hospitalizations in the pediatric population, and so are we. Now, during a news conference hosted by the Governor Albert Bryan on Tuesday, the Department of Health reported some 2,494 active COVID-19 infections Tuesday night, up 382 active infections from Monday. Now, the Omicron variant continues in a rapid spread in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and according to data provided by the Health Department, St. Thomas accounted for some 1,205 of these cases, followed by St. Croix with 1,180 and St. John with 97 cases on the 3 islands, totaling some 2,482. And it was not clear, viewers, where the remaining 11 cases were confirmed. The latest numbers also represent a new record for each of the islands, driven by the Omicron variant, which has all but pushed out the Delta strain. Kamal, we continue to monitor the situation in the U.S. Virgin Islands, particularly because of the close proximity not only do we do business, but many of our visitors, residents, and friends traverse through the U.S. Virgin Islands. And I think as we continue to not only watch our cases locally, but monitor theirs as well, it is of importance that we continue to monitor and see exactly what the figures look like and how they are going to somewhat possibly affect us here in the BVI.
And Ron, it's only a matter of time before the Omicron version of the COVID-19 virus makes its way to the territory. Yes. As we see, it's heavily impacting the United States Virgin Islands, and we do have tourists frequenting the BVI from the United States Virgin Islands on a daily basis, obviously being able to contract the virus and bring it over at any possible moment. For all we know, it may be here already. It's just a situation where now it has to be detected to be able to confirm that it is reported in the BVI, but we see the Omicron version of the COVID-19 virus basically being more transmissible than that Correct. Of the Delta. I mean, if persons were to choose between the Omicron and the Delta, I mean, I'm guessing they'll probably choose the Omicron.
Y'all can keep both of them.
But I mean, because the Delta, I said that only because the Delta variant
yes, I understand.
Has more of an impact when it comes to illness versus the Omicron, which mainly just transfer from one person to the next
very quickly. Yeah.
Very quickly. But Ron, it speaks to what the government here has been doing in trying to prevent it from coming. But it's only a matter of time, and we see. With new variants coming, there was the IHU that was discovered in France yesterday, and there's also other variants that are continue to be discovered, just they're not of variants of concern.
And that's the conversation. At this point, we continue to see no new variants emerge, and we have to be concerned about at what point are we going to see the continuing emerging of COVID-19 and the viruses. It seems as though persons feel as though they get to one level and they're a bit comfortable in the management of it, and before you know it, there's a new a strain, and I think that's the concerning part, and it has become more concerning for our residents and nations all across the world. Like, at what point is this going to still be a factor?
And that leads to my next story, where we speak about boosters, because that is something that will have to take place going forward, and who knows until when. Well, viewers, moving on, where children ages 12 to 15 are now eligible to receive the Pfizer vaccine booster after the United States Food and Drug Administration, also known as the FDA, expanded the booster eligibility to include adolescents. But this is according to a published article from international media dated Monday, December 3rd, which said FDA expanded the emergency use authorization for Pfizer's COVID-19 booster to now include children ages 12 to 15. Well, let's take a look at this report by CNBC's senior health and science reporter Meg Terrell.
Another change the FDA made today also applies only to folks who got Pfizer originally, is that they are now eligible for a booster as soon as 5 months after the second dose, compared with 6 months. For Moderna, it's still 6 months. The FDA explaining that by essentially saying they had data for shortening Pfizer and they don't yet have the data for shortening Moderna. They also cleared third doses for kids who are immunocompromised between the ages of 5 and 11. Still no word on exactly when a vaccine for even younger children under 5 will be available. We know that there had been a delay for Pfizer in that, and so a lot of us are still waiting on that. This as cases are reaching astronomical highs, averaging more than 400,000 per day in the U.S. right now, and you're getting that signature Omicron vertical line up on the case count right now. Hospitalizations are rising, but not at the same clip as cases, and deaths have held relatively steady around 1,200 per day, between 1,200 and 1,300 as of right now. So there's hope looking at South Africa, and also through some new biological data coming out about the Omicron variant itself, that this is milder. However, there are still a lot of warnings about the potential to overwhelm hospitals, some of which we are already seeing right now. Of course, we pay attention to cases because that makes a huge difference in staffing hospitals, being able to staff flights. Dr. Fauci talking about the pushback to the CDC's recommendation to be able to end isolation after 5 days without testing. He suggested yesterday that might change. Here's what he said.
You're right, there has been some concern about why we don't ask people at that 5-day period to get tested. That is something that is now under consideration. The CDC is very well aware that there has been some pushback about that. Looking at it again, there may be an option in that testing could be a part of that. And I think we're going to be hearing more about that in the next day or so from the CDC.
Well, viewers, that may be some good news for many health professionals across the territory. But that's it for today's news roundup. Be sure to follow us for daily news updates at 284media.com and like us on Facebook at 284media and 284BVI on Instagram and Twitter. I'm Kamal Haynes.
And I'm Ron Grant. Do have a beautiful rest of the day, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Hey, guys.